Wait, stop right there before you start posting comments. We need to clarify a few things. First, I do indeed know what good optics are. I've had the opportunity to look through some of the best glass that money can buy. Second, I do realize that there is a big difference between the expensive stuff and the cheap stuff. Third, I think that the expensive stuff is well worth the price. There's a Schmidt & Bedner PM2 that I got to look through once that I'm pretty sure I could see into the spirit world when I was trying to find a mirage. It was amazing. And the fourth thing that we have to keep in mind, though, is that this entire project has a cap of $500. And for those of you that have been following the project, you know that what we're doing is we're turning a budget deer rifle into a 1,000-yard competition rifle, and the total budget is capped at $500. Now be sure that you subscribe if you want to see new videos as they come out in this series. Pretty soon I'm going to be actually hitting the range to compete with this thing. If you like us on Facebook, you can connect with us and get some extra goodies. And then this playlist down here has everything in it if you want to go back and see any of the steps, like the trigger job that we did on this, or some of the stock work that we've done, including pillar bedding, epoxy bedding, and all that. Now I mentioned that the total budget on this was $500. So one rifle, one stock, a base and rings later, and we pretty much just have $100 for the glass. And if you've been on Amazon recently and tried to see what's available for $100, you know that really it's grim. It's a steaming pile of garbage out there. There's a whole lot of trash. But when I was setting up the original budget for this whole project, I knew that I could probably get away with it because of this one scope right here. This is the Simmons 44 mag 6 to 24 by 44 millimeter mil dot scope. I selected this scope in part because of its older reputation. This used to be made in Japan, and it came into the US as actually a rather reliable and kind of a hidden gem in the market. It was still very inexpensive, but it was mechanically good and the glass was pretty decent from what I've heard. I've gotten to look through the Filipino model that followed, and the glass on that actually was pretty good, and it seemed like things were pretty well built on it. And then they moved production to China, which is what we're dealing with here. These modern ones are coming straight out of China, and the question is this a worthy successor even to its Filipino cousin that started to get a little bit of a lower reputation? And in a word, I think the answer is no. There are some weird things about this scope. I have run a battery of tests on this scope, and so far it displays every kind of aberration and distortion, in some mild way at least, that you can pretty much have in any list. So it's going to have some barrel distortion, it's going to have chromatic distortion, all kinds of things. And when you're looking through this scope at 24 power, the total effect is kind of like you're looking through a dusty window. It is not very clear in those higher magnifications. These higher magnification models come with target turrets, and the clicks are very indistinct. It's very easy to skip one when you're turning. There's not much sound, and it just kind of has this rounded feeling. It's not a positive click. And when you've adjusted this to not even its more extreme ends, but as you start to, really adjust for your longer ranges, you totally lose focus and parallax, and you have to readjust here. I suppose I've seen this a little bit on some other scopes before, but it was very minor. This one is extreme. As you start to get, say maybe, 20 MOA, the total image is gone and parallax is way, way off, so it has to be readjusted. And this scope does something that I have never seen before. This has 1/8 MOA turrets, which I actually quite like. I have another scope with 1/8 MOA turrets, and I love that precision. That's just fine. But this is something truly bizarre. Never seen this before. Take a look at this. I'm used to, on 1/8 MOA turrets, it's going to count, from 0, it's going to go to 8, because that's going to be 1 MOA. So if you want to adjust 1 MOA, you turn to that 8 spot. But what they did is they counted every 10, all the way up around to 60. And this is truly bizarre. I don't know if they were trying to fool people into thinking that these were mill turrets or what, but this makes absolutely no sense. If I'm going to adjust my my turrets based on some kind of ballistic chart, or if it's going to be a friend making a wind call or something, I don't want to be adjusting by 10s. I want to be going by 8s, which is going to be that 1 MOA position. So that is really, really weird. While we're here abusing the turrets, I have to point out something else that's just truly bizarre. Typically, you can remove these turret caps so that you can reset your 0 for the 0 that your rifle has. So say if I had ended up here on 10, that's where my actual 0 is, I could back these set screws out. There are 3 of them all the way around. And on some scopes there'll be 1 on top, but a lot of these less expensive ones, you're going to have 3 here. So you back out the set screws, you lift this cap off, plop it down at the 0 position, like this, tighten it back down, and now you have your 0 set on this scope. But here's the deal, you can back out these set screws, but this cap is going nowhere. I don't know if somebody at the factory was just getting crazy with the glue, or if somebody was practicing with a welder or something, but this cap is going nowhere, not on the elevation, nor on the windage. These things cannot move. So my workaround is going to have to be to create my own set of markings going around this thing. I'm just going to have to do some kind of paper or tape or something and make my own markings and make this work, because this cap will not come off. I tried prying it, and all I did was just put some slight damage on the lip of this cap. If I had kept going, I probably just would have torn things up. Those are not coming off. Despite the criticisms that I just leveled against this scope, I think that it is still worth the $100 that I paid, and I think that it's actually going to perform okay in competition, as long as it can hold its 0 under recoil, and we're going to find that out in testing. The turrets track perfectly, and that's both the elevation and the windage. I tested this on my garbage bin truth. So all the way through its entire range, it was very accurate. And actually, this scope is advertised as having 45 MOA of travel in any direction. And what I got when I was testing at least the elevation was 60. And it seemed to be tracking true. Now, I did have those parallax problems like I mentioned, but it was always hitting the correct mark every time. So I think I can rely on those turrets. The image may be somewhat washed out, but it does resolve small details quite well. The second focal plane mil-dot reticle, combined with high magnification, means that I'll be able to make very minute adjustments as I make wind calls during the match. And these very precise turrets are going to help me get right on target for those first shots. Testing is going to reveal the true nature of this scope, so stay tuned.